Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1 Episode 9. It's called All Those Who Wander. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. And we knew there was going to be a Gorn related episode by the end of the season, although conveniently they have still left a full-sized, proper, like, intelligent, I can fly a spaceship Gorn reveal for a future date, because earlier we saw the ship, and obviously we had the threat that they were out there. This episode we get to see some baby and some, I guess, like adolescent size Gorn, because they're quick. Well, and they also decide to turn them into xenomorphs as well. More on that in a little bit. But yeah, so this is a sci-fi horror episode, very different from last week's. They get a distress call. A starship has went down on a desolate planet somewhere, and the Enterprise is called out to go and investigate it. But they also have to deliver some important medical supplies or energy supplies to somewhere in time. So Peck decides to take most of the main characters on a couple of shuttles down to the surface to deal with this distress call, and basically just Una and Ortega's take the Enterprise to go and deliver the goods. But it means that they're kind of on their own, they're stranded, because they don't think it's going to be that dangerous. And then, of course, oh shit, everyone down here is dead. This has been a massacre. It's a horror movie. It's just like the thing just happened, and there's like dead body parts in the snow. And we go from there. And it's a monster episode. So, Tara, what did you think of episode 9?
Worst episode ever. Hated it.
I get the impression that you're probably being facetious because a certain death happens later in the episode.
Absolutely. It was a great episode up until that moment.
I was surprised at that as well, especially since we complained that he was missing for like so many episodes, and then they kill him off like just like that.
They knew they had gold, and then they killed him.
Yeah, very odd choice. I had a lot of fun with this episode though. Last week was not my
this is definitely a Peter episode.
Yeah, last week was not my kind of episode. This week was my kind of episode. They were speaking to me directly with this one.
They sure were.
Not only is it very alien in that the Gorn now, well, I wouldn't say chest burst, the back burst. Slight difference, basically the same thing.
They need a host though.
Yeah, they need a host. They come out of your back. And it could be more than one though, because I think it's 4 that are born in this episode from this one alien dude's back. And
who I loved, by the way. I love that design.
Yeah, very big, bulky, prosthetic
design.
Yeah,
a lot of animatronic face stuff, and very cool.
But not only are they like aliens in that they start off chestburster size and then they grow up, you know, they're not adult. They make it very clear that if they were adult size, they'd be screwed, and there's no way they'd survive. The only reason why they're even able to survive this episode is because they're only like I say, I don't know, adolescent. I don't know if that's the right term in this case, but they're a fair bit bigger than they were, but they're not adult yet. They also have basically predator vision. I mean, it's obviously not actual thermal colors, but it's the same idea where you go to this POV shot and it's like just very limited color sort of, you know, spectrum that they're seeing.
Much like Predator, they also like warm areas.
I mean, that's a stretch, and the reason why I'm saying it's a stretch is because it's not like a mechanical thing with Predator. Like the Predator won't like avoid cold areas if like as a tactical thing. I know why you're saying that, because the Predator likes to go to hot climates to do his hunting, but like in this it's like no. The Gorn will stay out of the cold part of the ship because they hate the cold that much. So they can use it like. Whereas I think the Predator, if he's got some prey that he wants in some cold areas, he'll put on a hoodie and he'll get the job done because he'll go in.
Well, sure, unless you watch the Alien vs. Predator, which is so irritating that they just ignore that part of it. They don't even give him cold weather outfits. So stupid. A stupid movie.
Go check out the Atomic Cinema Experiment, where Tara complained about this at length in the episode about Alien vs. Predator.
Everyone knows this about Predator. They like a warm climate.
They like a warm climate, but they're not like... They don't stay away from cold like it's kryptonite.
We don't know. They don't really have... I don't know if they've ever really been in that situation. From the lore of the Predator films, not linked to Alien.
You're splitting hairs at this point just because you're annoyed at Alien versus Predator. What the hell?
Yes.
Thoughts on the Gorn in this episode?
Yeah, I think they look awesome. I knew we were going to get a Gorn episode because there's one shot of like you just see the Gorn face and like a tail behind it or something as it backs away, and that was in the trailer. And even though they look very different, obviously, I think it makes sense that they look different, because they're young. Apparently, different host will give it a different appearance.
Also like the xenomorph.
Also like a xenomorph. And, but yeah, they're kind of cute.
I mean, I think they're going to look different anyway when they're adult sized. I don't think the differences we see in here are just because they're younger.
What, we're not going to get a man in a suit?
No,
Captain
we're definitely not. I think that's the interesting thing is obviously I joke about them giving them the Predator style vision, even though they're more xenomorph like in like their birth and their just kind of general size and stuff as they're growing up. But what's funny is that I guess much like the Predator as well, they can also fly ships. So I actually can't wait to see like the version of this thing that is smart enough to build a spaceship. Like, like what does that look like? Does it still walk around on two legs like more of a biped, or are we getting?
I'm not sure. I am curious about that as well. One that wears clothes, one that has engineers, and that's really interesting.
Well, if they don't
because these ones are, obviously they're naked because they just get birthed, and all they know is to compete with each other and find food. And they grow really quickly, which to me indicates is probably a short lifespan, but maybe not.
Maybe not. This kind of depends. I mean, if they don't like the cold, then it makes sense that they would develop clothes. I mean, that does make some sense. Yeah. And they're on like a snowy climate on this planet. I don't know if the whole planet's snowy, but that's certainly where they are. There's like an ice storm coming in, so that kind of further traps everyone there. And everyone's there. Even Sam Kirk comes down for this.
So happy to see him.
Uhura's there. It's her last mission before she might be going back to the academy. This is like the end of her tour as a our cadet like tour that everyone does. And I laughed actually because at the start of the episode they say, "Oh, Uhura and this other character we've never seen before. It's both your final days as cadets on the Enterprise." And I went, "Oh, is that an actual red shirt I see?" And then right after it,
he's wearing yellow.
Not literal, figuratively, right? And then right after it, they say, "Oh, by the way, Ensign," I think it was Ensign Duck. No, it was Duke. Maybe Duke. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Ensign Duck, you are no longer an ensign. You are now a lieutenant. And I went, "Oh, that's another red shirt." And would you believe it? Both of these characters snuffed it. During the course of the episode, I could smell this a mile off. I knew these characters were just there to be killed.
You know why Uhura didn't die? Because she's great at everything.
I was going to say
she was really the best. That's why.
I was going to say it's because she's in the original series. Like they'd really be breaking the canon if they killed off Uhura. That is what we call in the business logical. To quote Mr. Spock.
We get to see Angry Spock in this too.
We get to see Angry Spock in this. Yes. We'll get to the Spock stuff. We'll get. I want to stay on the gore and the horror stuff just now because there's a lot of it's very typical sci-fi horror stuff where it's okay, the damaged ship. Let's get the power up and running. Everything's dark. There's lights flickering. We need to sneak around. They're not really aware that there's any serious danger for a bit, and they find a girl who. It doesn't play out like Newt and Aliens, but I couldn't help but think of Newt a little bit when they found her.
I couldn't help but think of Bill Paxton when Sam Kirk was freaking out.
Oh yeah, he's the one who's constantly worried that they're all going to die, and is at one point in Bang is like,
her in charge. I wish he said that so bad.
At one point, it'd have been a cheap reference. I don't know. I don't think I'd have been on board with that. I'd have rolled my eyes at that. But in Bang at one point says like, "Do you want me to sedate him?" Because he's getting really like hyper and like maybe he might be a liability at this point. And Peck's like, no, we need everyone to be sharp. He's tougher than he looks. And I'm like, is he? Are you sure, Peck?
Yeah, he's like freaking out and hitting the walls and stuff. He's great. This is definitely Sam Kirk's episode.
Yeah, but it puts the characters in these dangerous situations. Like Chapel, like just walks out the room when the alien like burst like happens, and she comes back in, and like like the cadet's dead, the alien dude's dead, the little girl's ran away. Like she's freaking out. Anne gets to be a bit of a badass, even though she's the one who's like got the experience, which I guess is why she's the one who knows more stuff. But it also, like, it's almost impressive that she is as like tough in the situation. Like, so like her attitude is like, no, we need to deal with this right now. We need to kill them. We need to do these things. Chapel's kind of freaking out for a good bit of the episode, and it's kind of this like determination. But that's of course like it's pointed out to her that once upon a time you were kind of this kid, right? And like maybe you can help with it, and that kind of leads to her choice at the end of the episode, which is to actually go and try and find her parents, which takes her away for the finale. She won't be here next week. In fact, on that note, I would say that the last 5 minutes of this episode felt like a season finale, and I actually went and double checked that there was another episode next week, because the way that because her going off felt like, oh, this is her going off to do stuff between seasons, and the way Ahura like sort of walked out of the bridge and looked at her communications spot and sort of smiled, and then the dun 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 played. I was like, that felt like what you end the first season on. That's her choice. Like that's her in the moment. She's just made the choice to stay and come back to the Enterprise. But there is an episode next week. Have no fear. But it did feel like an ending to the season.
It did. Yeah. Like, if they ended with this one, I would have been satisfied, with the exception of like, well, I want more episodes.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean, that's a good feeling though. You want that feeling.
Yeah. It also just sort of reinforced the fact that I just don't understand the lighting on the bridge. Like, they've got these weird ring lights everywhere. Like, I have to work with a ring light, and I kind of hate it because it's in my eyes, and I don't know. I don't like the lighting on this shit. Why not have just comfortable lighting?
Because sci-fi, future, bright, shiny. This is why. Hey,
okay, fine.
To be fair, this is way more toned down than all the lens flares that are on all the other new Trek shows.
I suppose. Yeah, this one had a little bit of the like spinning camera moves and stuff too, but I didn't feel it was out of place. I noticed it, I think, because I normally don't see them on Strange New Worlds. Also, before we move on, I really like the shot of when they first find that, like, I think it's just another Constitution class ship like on the planet, and it's weird to see a spaceship grounded on a planet like that, Yeah,
it's the ship. They're investigating.
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool shot, though.
No, it was the way you said that. They find another ship. I'm like, oh yeah, it's the ship they're looking for.
Yes. Sorry, I thought that went without saying.
It's the ship with all the dead people that came from it. Yeah. No, because that's the key point though, is that the camera, like the more advanced camera tricks, only start happening when it starts becoming a horror movie. When it starts getting into the horror stuff is when it starts playing with that. It's not like it's there in that first 5-10 minutes when they're having like dinner and saying congratulations and like giving like Uhura and the other cadet their goodbye dinner. Which, by the way, I did kind of love, like him making Spock do some dishes whilst they were having their meeting.
Instead of like the ready room scene with all the bridge crew, we just get Peck just makes everybody breakfast. Like all their meetings are around like having food together. I
actually laughed out. I mean, not all their meetings, because clearly like Anne thought this was a bit strange that they were eating, and then like had to be talked into eating the breakfast, and then was like, oh, this is amazing. But I did laugh a little bit towards the end of the scene, because I thought of you when Pike compared it to going on a road trip with the family. Everyone get in the what was the car he said? Everyone get
station
in the
wagon or
station
something?
wagon. Yeah, everyone get in the station wagon. And Spock's said station wagon. He obviously didn't get it. He doesn't understand what that is. And Pike goes, "Wait, everyone, make sure you go now. I don't want to have to stop on the way." And I thought, that is a dad joke. That is actually him pretending to be everyone's dad. And it just made me think of you, and I laughed, because you keep complaining about him being stepdad.
Yeah, not my favorite scene.
I love it. I love stepdad Pike. He's great.
It's weird. He's your boss. It's weird.
I'm okay with it. This is a happy future where everyone can get along. It's perfectly fine.
Yep. I mean, they're not backing down from it. They're doubling down even. So it's fine. I'll get used to it.
Yeah. See if I get complaints. Like, see if we start season 2 reviews in a year's time and you're like, oh, he's so stepdaddy.
Look, I'm not there yet. That's all okay. I like the show a lot.
Okay, what else do you like about this episode then?
Well, I liked when Hammer and her were teamed up again, and they already had that, like, you know, that other episode where they were paired up together, and so now they have like a pet name for each other.
Hammer, I think it was. Was it that?
Hemera.
Hemura? Okay, it was Hemura. Okay, I knew it was combining
Team
the names.
Hemera strikes again.
Hemura, which unfortunately will not be continuing because I thought it was fine because he gets spit with the spray from the Gorn, right? And it's like, and I think Mbenga says, "Oh, I think the spray is to blind people," and he goes, "Well, picked the wrong target with me then, didn't I?" I thought, okay, he's fine then, just a little bit banged up, and then it turns out that's also what impregnates them. Like that's kind of the facehugger style thing, and it's like, oh wait, he's going to have to like sacrifice himself, and everyone's like, no, we'll try and like, you know, we'll freeze you, we'll try and take them out, we'll do what we can, like, and he's like, there's not enough time because he's at the point where he can kind of feel his skin going, like just like the other alien did, so that he's kind of right that it's probably too late to actually do anything. If anything, like I was half expecting as he was falling out the back of the ship down the cliff, I thought we were going to get the Alien 3 like moment with the, you know, the chest buster happening like halfway down. They didn't do that though. They didn't give us the ultra gory thing. But
no, I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad we don't even see him like do it. You know, like we just see somebody. I think it's Launch. He like turns around and he's kind of blurred in the background. But,
yeah. Well, you just see a really big wide shot where you can just see, like, you know, his body falling.
Yeah, that's true. It's so sad. Why do they have to do this? Why couldn't they just beam him out of him?
Well, they kept saying all episode how all their sensors couldn't pick up where the Gorn were because they're naturally immune to, like, how their sensors work.
They can't be immune to an ultrasound.
Well, they scanned the alien dude and they didn't detect anything inside him.
Oh boy!
I guess they didn't.
There's a physical thing in there now. It's not just like embryos.
I mean, I guess they literally didn't ultra scan him. I mean, maybe if they'd done that, but like, there's obviously, I imagine that in this part of Star Trek lore, it's pretty outdated tech, so they don't bother using it.
An ultrasound? Oh.
They've got
Sometimes
a fancy tricorder.
Rely on the classics.
Yeah, they don't need to use that. It's fine. What made me laugh a little bit is, you know, we go to this sort of funeral kind of speech moment, right? And Ortega's is giving this speech about Hammer, and I thought, I get that it probably just happened before we cut to the scene, but it does kind of feel like this is all for Hammer, and the other two who died, no one's talking about, and no one's saying jack shit about.
Yeah. Well, that was true for me anyway. Also.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. If anything, like, I mean, the new lieutenant, like, he has the death where, like, the little Gorn just falls in the back of his neck, basically, and he gets, like, dragged away. And Pike and Spock are just like, what? What just happened? Oh dear. We're in trouble here. They did, like, a little thing here where Spock calls him, he still calls him Anson by accident. And they all kind of joke, oh, you owe him a drink because you called him Ensign. He's been promoted to lieutenant. Which, by the way, I didn't realise that lieutenant was the first thing they go to. I assumed there was something between ensign and lieutenant.
Lieutenant junior grade.
Yeah.
Typically is between ensign and lieutenant.
I'm sure it is junior grade that is, but I assumed there was, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't really call anybody lieutenant junior grade when you refer to them. Yeah. You just refer to them as lieutenant, but it's still... There is still technically a step in between. I
mean, not that I've ever heard anyone in Star Trek say sergeant, but I feel like there should be something between ensign and lieutenant.
There is. I suppose, I don't know if it is in the show because nobody ever calls anyone lieutenant junior grade, I don't think. But I imagine if it's the same ranks.
As what?
As like current day Navy.
Oh, okay. Wait, in current day Navy, does it just go straight to like junior lieutenant from...
It goes ensign, lieutenant junior grade, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, commander, captain, admiral.
Yeah, why is there like 4 ranks that have the word lieutenant in them? Have some different words.
I don't know. If someone's the lieutenant commander, though, you call them commander.
Sure. But a captain's captain.
That's right.
Who's the captain?
Although
now?
You can be a commander or even lower and be a captain of the ship, in which case you're still called captain.
I offered you a joke there, but you spoke right over me, so you don't get it back.
Oh. That's all right. The people can hear it.
Well, they don't get the punchline though. It just sounds like I'm pathetically setting up a joke that you just spoke right over, and it's there forever in the void.
Dude, I'm not a telepath. I can't read your mind. You're just gonna have to be faster with your jokes.
So yeah, at one point when they're dealing with the Gorn and they're trying to lure them around because using the heat and the cold to get them around, Spock is struggling a little bit and thinks back to Nurse Chapel telling him that he has to let out a little bit of anger to do this, and he yells and screams and bangs and gets the Gorn to chase him. It's a whole moment, and it's all sort of fine and well. But the problem is that he's kind of unlocked his feelings a little bit here. So later on, when he's at the sort of the funeral style scene, Chapel notices his hands are kind of shaking a little bit, and he leaves, and she follows him out, and he's punching a dent in the hallway.
In a bulkhead.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's stuff in between that and the exterior hull of the ship. I'm sure he's not endangering anyone, but it's still this is the ship, man. This is the Enterprise, and you're punching a big dent in it.
We're gonna have to get a cadet to fix that.
Yeah, whoever's not been promoted technically yet, right? She's still a cadet. He's having trouble dealing with this, and he feels kind of ashamed of his feelings, and Chapel has to explain, no, this doesn't make you weak, it makes you human, and gives him a hug. And it's actually kind of a genuine sweet moment, and I did kind of in particular enjoy the end of the moment, where it actually felt like are they about to kiss moment, and I loved that it felt like that, and then Spock just walked away as if it was nothing because he's Spock, and Chapel was left standing there. I thought that was a really well handled little play on the trope of, oh, we're staring at each other, we're really close, maybe kissy time, but Spock just walked away as if it was nothing without feeling awkward about it.
Yeah. The only feeling that he's not suppressing right now is rage, because that's the one that he let out. So
yes.
And I suppose maybe this is because he's half human, that maybe he's not able to put it back in as easily as someone who's fully Vulcan. Maybe that's also why the body swap happened, is because he's not fully Vulcan.
I suspect that being half human is why it is tougher for him. Although we've heard before that Vulcans, the reason why they've locked down their emotions is because they were too extreme and they were too volatile. So you could argue that maybe his not being able to bottle up is because he's half human again, but the idea that it is so potent is probably his Vulcan side. What are you smirking about? What's this sneaky hands together plan you've got concocted here? What's going on?
Is that why maybe we get Cybok next episode?
I don't think he's next. I think he's season 2.
You don't think Cybok's going to take advantage of Spock and his emotions being released?
Can he sense that?
Well, if he happens to be in the episode, that would be a very good timing for him.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what? I guess there's a smaller chance now, just because I didn't think there was any chance of getting Cybok this season. I'll say there's a small chance, but only because we've already did a Gorn episode towards the end. I don't think we're going to get Gorn again in the finale.
You don't want Star Trek to become Gorn again? It's a Christian joke.
It wasn't really about wanting, I just don't expect them to do a Gorn episode again.
Well, another thing this opens up is they need a new chief engineer. Is there a chance we get Scotty?
Do you know, them adding another character from the original series in season 2 seems like a thing they would do.
Well, I know you don't remember, but there was some casting thing that got leaked before the series came out.
Of course I don't remember this.
I can't believe you don't remember. I definitely texted it to you.
I'm sure you did, but so much TV news goes into my ears. And
you're like, oh, I don't know who that is, but he's on some CW show or something. I don't know.
that sounds like me. Yes. Was it? Did it say he was going to play Scotty, or was it just
It wasn't Scotty.
Speculation.
No.
So what's this to do with the Scotty speculation then?
Well, because you said, bringing in an original series character, a legacy character into the finale seems like something they might do.
In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if like each season adds another so by the time you get to say season 5, you've got like everyone but Kirk.
Hopefully they don't all die, because I like these characters a lot.
I mean, all the non-original series cast.
Yes.
Because you feel like her Chapel and Spock are safe.
Yes.
And Pike is safe up until when he's supposed to die, or supposed to have his horrible accident.
Right.
But like,
and he's already off the ship by then, right? So
yeah. So the rest of them, though, it's like, yeah, like they're kind of fair game in a weird way. Like, I don't necessarily want them to add every single other character, and obviously you couldn't add Chekhov because he's not supposed to join until like after everyone else. But
yeah.
I wonder if like you end the show with like you don't show his face, but you just saw like you see like the back of like Kirk walking out of the bridge, and that's the end of the series. Like it's like, oh, now he's taking command, and I don't know, why I'm imagining the end of the whole show is just because we're talking about the prospect of Scotty possibly joining for season 2. I'm just thinking down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's why they decided to go ahead with this series, because they have fun ideas like that.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, like it does feel a bit overbearing if you have too many of them. But to be honest, when I think about it, like Sulu wouldn't feel out of place if he joins at some point.
No, I think Scotty would be a good fit for the show. I'm sure you would enjoy having maybe a real Scotsman this time.
As if they cast a real Scotsman. Because they didn't do that for the J.J. Abrams movie. They got Simon Pegg, and I like Simon Pegg. Like, this is not shade on Simon Pegg, but he ain't Scottish.
No, he's not. But yeah, you can have a good Montgomery Scott. I think that would be kind of fun. Plus, by the time the original series starts, like Scotty knows that ship.
Yeah, he's already been there. Yeah, that makes some amount of sense.
That ship is his baby. Mm-hmm.
I think what I like about it right now is a healthy mix of original characters and old characters, and it kind of makes it feel fresh. And it does help as well that some of the original characters are very revived. Like, I feel like Chapel especially feels just a completely new character, basically.
Yeah.
And everything but name. And it's in a good way, because I like her, because she's bubbly, she's fun. Her interactions with Spock are actually quite entertaining. So
she's very like strong-willed too. She's a good character.
Yeah. So yeah.
I would think that like Bones probably wouldn't be replaced though. I always felt like Bones and Kirk have this history that goes back before Enterprise. Like maybe he would request Bones to be on the Enterprise with him.
So they would come together. Yeah, okay.
It's kind of, I don't know if that's just my own headcanon or if that's something that's been there before, but
I think
they always seem like they had some sort of history.
I think the reason why it feels that way is because of the way Bones is with Spock and the way that he's kind of uneased about all the Vulcan-y stuff.
Oh, your new friend.
Yeah. To me, that feels like he's not been... Because it doesn't feel like he's used to Spock at the start of the original series. It feels like this is a relatively new thing to him. Which actually, yeah, that reminds me. At one point, Sam Kirk just gets racist in the middle of a conversation. He calls Spock like a pointy-eared computer or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude.
He pulls the Bones.
Yeah, but at least that was technically the 60s. So I like, but me and Connor pointed out when me and Connor were reviewing those original series episodes, we were like, technically that was just like casual racism coming out of Bones. It just happens to be the made up alien that he's saying it about. But whatever. Yeah,
you always wonder why, like, if Spock was even comfortable getting medical care from Bones.
Yeah.
He's just always being harassed and made fun of for being Vulcan.
Actually, I like that.
Maybe he liked it. Maybe he liked it, though, because maybe, like growing up on Vulcan and always being seen as human, and somebody's there to reaffirm that, no, you're Vulcan.
Yeah, I like that in this episode, actually. In Benga, when they're talking about this alien dude before and after his death, and like, well, is there something in him that we could maybe use to try and track the Gorn as a roundabout since they came out of him? And then Benga's like, I don't know what species he is. I wouldn't even begin to like know what was his and what was the alien, what was the Gorn. They're both alien technically, but you know what I mean? Like, what's him originally and what's the Gorn added element? Like, I don't know because I don't have a basis for this.
That was a really cool alien. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So,
Also, Omega has a reaction to the girl that they find, the Newt character in this, where he calls her his daughter on accident.
Yeah, it's when he's getting protective because La'an's kind of being a bit of a hard ass and like demanding to like know answers to questions about the Gorn and like, did you know about this? Did you smuggle them in? Like, what are you not telling us? And Benga jumps in and says, leave my daughter alone. And it's like, oh.
You kind of have that reaction when you see him interact with the girl. He's like, oh, he probably is going to get real close to her because he just, lost his daughter in a way.
I mean, he's far from the central character in this, but I mean, when you think of aliens and you think, why is Ripley, like, if I think of Ripley's story in that, she's just found out that her daughter grew old and died.
Well, if you watch the special edition.
That's the only version everyone watches now, though.
It's true.
That's the main version. No one.
I hope that's true. I hope that's the one that people watch.
Absolutely. I've not seen the theatrical cut since like the early 2000s.
Well, in any case, he has another moment where he kind of has to talk about how he's okay with his decision of his daughter moving on and that she's okay now. She's in a better place. Just another little, affirmation that he has to do.
Yeah.
To convince himself he made the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it still being something that affects him, that it's something that's still on his mind. I don't necessarily need to go into like speeches about it, but just that little mistake did feel quite good. It felt like a nice, natural mistake for him to make.
It did. Well, he's a good actor too, so it came off very natural.
And the characters all go quiet, and like, I don't think everyone knows about the daughter. Like, I don't know if La'an actually knows too many details about that, whereas obviously Chapel, who's like right behind her, does. So like she looks over at him with like a greater sense of concern than what La'an has in the moment.
I like that, his decision maybe still haunts him a little bit, even though that it wasn't necessarily closure for him when he let her go.
Yeah. So La'an does kind of like, turn about by the end of the episode and wants to help this girl find her family, and that's why she's off for the finale. Actually, I learned today that they just finished shooting season 2. It's already been shot.
Excellent.
Yeah, so.
All right, we won't have to wait so long.
I mean, I still think it'll probably be a year, but it won't. I don't think it'll be longer than that, though. Like, I think the fact that they've already shot it means they'll make that 1 year gap more or less. I imagine pretty comfortably. So that's cool.
Yeah, we only got one left.
Which I guess means if they are adding Scotty to season 2, they would have cast him because they've already shot the whole thing.
They could still be good at keeping secrets.
I guess what I meant is that I don't think they announced any sort of casting while they were shooting season 1. This is what I really meant to say, but yeah, I mean, it is actually comforting to know they've already shot season 2 because it's like, oh, great, means we're not going to be waiting forever. It's nice. Yeah,
that's wonderful. I think Lower Decks has been really quick too with its turnaround for each season. I think that one's coming out. There's a trailer for it during like First Contact Day and stuff this year. For the next season.
Is that a bit quicker though because it's animation?
I assume so. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to like shoot anything on site, so
I mean, it varies
in their homes.
I know Rick and Morty has taken ages sometimes, but at the same time, something like South Park, like they're so topical in that show, from what I hear, because they make an episode in like 2 weeks, so it references things that just happened, and it's still
that was such like a huge surprise. Because you always wonder that when you watch South Park. I don't know if you watch it, but like,
I don't know.
It is very much like, this is just this week's news. How do they do this? Do they make like a change real quick, or they just added some things? Because the animation isn't like, their lips move a little bit, but it's a little bit like open close situation.
Yeah.
It's not like very complex animation.
It's relatively very simple compared to a Lower Decks, which is more of a traditional.
There was a behind the scenes thing that came out, like a decade ago or so, maybe even more. Where it's just like, this is how we stay up to date. We literally do not know what we're going to do until the week of it's going to be released, and we just write it out real quick. Like, that's so crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. I feel like that would be so much pressure and stress doing that.
I mean, I think they just got re-upped for like another 5 years or something in their contract, so they're going to keep making episodes, so they must love to do it. They love the stress.
Like South Park, Simpsons, Family Guy, even like some of the other ones now, like they're running for so long. Because Family Guy's on like season 19 or something.
I don't know. I stopped watching that show after like season 2.
Yeah, but like everyone always brings up The Simpsons because it's in the 30s now, and it is insane. But like Family Guy's like almost at 20, I think.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. Do you know what it is? It's because like, oh, you can get away with doing it for ages because like obviously you don't see the cast, you only hear them, so you can it doesn't matter that they're aging. So it's like, oh, whatever. It's so yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that means you'll get Lower Decks for like 40 years.
That's okay with me. Best Star Trek show ever.
It will live us because it started relatively a good chunk into our lifespans. So it's going to.
Mike McMahon's older than us, so maybe it'll end when he ends.
Maybe, yeah. And there's always a chance with voices that you can get someone who can like do the voice, like someone else who can actually nail the.
Yeah, I think someone from The Simpsons did pass away a couple of years ago.
Wasn't Homer though, was it? Or the guy that's Homer?
Castellaneta is still around. I think they're all still around.
Yeah.
It's just somebody who does like a bunch of background people, but like a very familiar voice, obviously.
And it's Huey from The Boys that's one of the main dudes in Lower Decks. I was just double checking that because I remember that.
Oh yeah, it's Dennis Quaid's kid and Meg Ryan's kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a Quaid.
Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid, yes. He was also in Stream 5 this year, so he's a working actor.
He's a great voice actor.
He's also
a lot of fun.
He pops up on a lot of YouTube shows actually. He's been on Best of the Worst, and he was on a Kind of Funny thing, I think, not too long ago.
That's cool.
So he's a nerdy enough guy that he goes on to like internet shows.
The girl that does Mariner, I don't really know what else she's done other than the Twilight Zone episode she did. But she hosts a Star Trek fan like podcast. Like she's a real Trekkie.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. But yeah, to just wrap up this review.
Yeah, we kind of gone off the rails.
Well, I think part of the reason why it was a fairly simple discussion is because it's a very simple concept for an episode that's kind of tried and true. It just happens to be a tried and true like premise that I love. Like the idea that you're on a ship that's damaged and there's like a creature running around and everyone has to like, if anything, it could have been even more like, tense for me. It could have went even more into the horror for me. But obviously it's an hour of TV rather than a full movie. It's still Star Trek. They can't go too far. Although the first time, I mean, the actual chest burster or back buster, if you want to call it that, when that happens, it's pretty gnarly. There's blood and there's smears of blood in places. They find arms in the snow when they land. It's got a bit of gore to it.
There's a cool moment actually when Nurse Chapel's like walking through the sick bay to try to like see what happened real slow, and the camera pans right, and we just see like a shadow of a large person's arm in the background. And you're like, oh, someone's there with her. And then it turns out to just be La'an, who's not very large.
If
the shadow was just deceptive.
If it went right pan was the correct term, you don't have to be so nervous about that.
I am nervous about it because I know you're particular about terms.
I just hate when people say like pan up, because it's not a pan, it's a tilt. You pan left and right, you tilt up and down.
Yeah. You don't pan in, it's a zoom.
No, you don't. Well, it's not. No, you've hit another pet peeve. Most of the time it's not a zoom. Most of the time you're tracking in.
Okay.
The zoom, because the zoom button, by and large, is not used in movies, right? Very rarely is it actually used in film because it's very unnatural. You can tell it's like an artificial like thing that the camera's doing. So normally it's the camera's physically moving in. The only time you use the zoom is when you're trying to make it feel like a documentary, or you're doing that trick that I forget what it's called. Scorsese's done it a bunch of times though. It's where you sort of slowly track in, but you zoom out at the same time. So you basically keep the same framing, but the background, like focal length, changes and looks different. So you get this weird kind of warp effect happening.
So like when the Nazgul arrive in Lord of the Rings.
I don't know. I don't remember that moment or that character or that monster or whatever he is.
Do you want to talk about aspect ratio real quick, or?
I'd love to talk about aspect ratio.
What about TV settings?
I never thought you'd ask, to be honest. This is so sweet of you to bring up aspect ratios, Tara.
No, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Did you know this show's in something in the 2.40 to 1 range? It's in the cinematic widescreen. Very nice.
So fascinating.
It's absolutely fascinating, you might say.
Yeah, I could be Natalie right now. It's absolutely fascinating.
Sorry, I care about. These aren't even that. These aren't even like super technical things. They're like basic technical things, but fine.
Well, we'll see you guys next week with the finale. We're very excited.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. I'm curious as to what it's going to focus on. But I'm glad I got a horror episode. And I think, if they're doing 10 episodes a season, there's room each season for, a horror episode every season. There's room for a sort of fun, light-hearted one, at least once a season. There's room for, these types of episodes. You can, I'm not saying do the exact same thing again, but just another horror-esque one next season. And I'll be a happy camper. Nice bit of variety. So yeah, let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters, mail_Fuzz for channel updates. And if you want to support the show, you can of course hit the super thanks button below, or head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and support us for as little as $1 per month and help keep all the content coming. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Keep watching Star Trek. Did I do like an outro in this one? Like a fancy one? I don't. Okay, well, in that case, have you got any vanilla?